Hey y'all, I'm Arwen, the professional joy seeker, professional tarot reader, and psychic, magazine publisher. Just a couple of things here and there that I do. I am here today. I'm looking down at my phone because I'm getting chat up so I can talk to y'all. Um, and it's, of course, giving me an error, so I'll have to come back. I'm excited. Today I'm talking to somebody that I love. I know her in person. She is a colleague of my husband, whose name we never say on the air. Um, and she's like a gift that he gave me. I was going out to her neck of the woods, and he said, "Well, oh, you should let her know. She'll come get you." Like, I've never met this woman. But please welcome to my channel, Dr. Sue Franklin. Hi, Sue.
Hi, Arwen. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you.
How's the weather where you are?
Oh, dang. Okay, usually at this time of the year, it's awful, but look at that. See the blue sky, the sunshine.
Wow.
It's gorgeous right now.
The last time I was out to your neck of the woods was in September. I went out to my retreat,
Oh, yeah.
and we had that kind of weather till Sunday. Literally, like at noon when the retreat ends, it started misting a little bit. It was crazy. It was so beautiful. Of course, that meant the beach we go to was really um, long. Lots of people out there. I can't get my phone to change over. We've got a couple of people here,
Awesome.
and Bunny Catch Bunny Catcher says he loves the blue frames. So we've got Bee and Bunny Catcher with us.
Why, thank you.
Aren't they awesome, y'all? My husband took a picture of Sue when he was out for his birthday, and she's like holding up a little blackberry, and it's the cutest picture. So I cropped it all up and sent it to her and said, "Use this."
It's a great picture.
Now, Sue, you are a trained therapist. You've got that degree on the wall. How did you come into being a therapist? What brought you to this work?
Oh, well, that really goes back to probably my teenage years in high school. And I wanted to know, why am I like I am? And why is my family like it is? And why are people like they are? And I was just really curious about all the things that contribute to making us. And I'm a highly sensitive person. I experienced a lot of angst in my early years. And, really, I was kind of driven toward, I knew there were ways to feel better and heal. And that was the thread, really, that led me to today. But this psychology is a second career for me. I was a musician for my first career, and that was a great study of personalities with, creative people, because we're interesting and quirky. So when I got out of music, I went to grad school, and it really was it was a very natural transition. And then, of course, the energy stuff started to flow in as well.
Now, did you find, I mean, it makes sense to me that you went from this creative to what's most people see as kind of a hard science, and then started pulling in some modalities that were, I think in some fields, some psychologists kind of go to the extra stuff. So talk some about the extra stuff. I mean, I know you've got some four-footed extra stuff that you've worked with and some other things. What kind of other modalities do you bring into your sessions?
Well, there is an aspect of psychology that is about science, and actually the energy work. There's lots of science around the energy work too, but there is science about psychology, and there's also an art to it. And as I have a very strong spiritual foundation, and my therapy work always felt like a spiritual practice to me. So it wasn't exactly going from a colored universe in music to a black and white universe in psychology, right? And
Mhm.
I've always, because I've had this spiritual foundation, I was open to all kinds of alternative, no, I don't want to call them alternative, to complementary ideas, natural health, holistic mindset, a spiritual perspective, and the I think tapping actually was the first thing that popped on my radar kind of in early before 2004, and I dabbled in that, and then it was just things sort of fell on my path along the way. So I'll so I incorporate tapping, or it's called EFT, emotional freedom techniques. Most people call it tapping now, which uses acupressure points. I did some study with Donna Eden in her energy medicine program. So I incorporate some of those techniques. And I guess maybe the foundation, what I talk about most is Reiki. I'm a Reiki master and have been for about 5 years. And so I use that almost as a container for, there's all kinds of ways to move energy.
Yeah.
You know, and kind of my bottom line philosophy is the specific technique you use is important to you and to the people who resonate with you, but it's moving energy, and the energy is the energy. I don't think there's Reiki energy and acupuncture energy. There's just energy.
Yeah, and I
So
agree with that. Yeah. Um, so go ahead. I'm sorry. I always talk over people. I'm terrible. You know that.
that's okay. I do it too. So yeah, so I incorporate all of those things. I guess now when I do therapy with people and I'm transitioning into doing coaching, even if we're just talking and I'm not doing hands-on work or distance energy work, there's still an energetic container. And as we're talking or doing exercises, we're affecting their energy, because thoughts are energy, right? Emotions are energy. It all comes down to that. And there's lots of
And
ways to move it. Go ahead.
and I think that really speaks to the idea of when I do affirmations and I tell people, rewire your brain, retrain your brain.
Mhm.
Um, don't talk to yourself. If you wouldn't say it to your best friend, don't say it to yourself. It's something I kind of preach on.
Mhm.
How do you feel about affirmations? Are they something that you use a lot? Do you advocate them? What's your thoughts on those?
I think affirmations can be an amazing tool. Now, there's a little caveat, because if affirmations are used as a way to suppress what's there, they won't work, because the unconscious wins. The unconscious leaks out all over, and that's when we, nonverbal behaviors, or we slip and say things we don't mean, or we just can't change a way of thinking. So I think it's really important to have to acknowledge, well, two things: acknowledge what is there, acknowledge the feelings that are there, and then use affirmations to move yourself just to the next step or two better than that. If you try to, if you're flat broke and bouncing checks and you're like, I'm a millionaire and I have millions of dollars coming in every day, well, that's not gonna get anywhere, right?
And it
That
might make
doesn't
you
work.
spend like a millionaire.
Right. Yes, exactly. But if you're broke and bouncing checks and you're like, okay, I know I care about myself. I can make a better choice when I have a chance, in spending money, or I'm getting better at managing my money. I'm making more loving choices for myself. I'm enjoying what I have. That's uh, those are really effective. And once you get that momentum going, the train takes off.
Yeah. Now we have a question from the audience, and guys, this is actually not so much tarot as it is more about Dr. Sue and her work. So, but somebody has actually asked a pretty interesting question, and Rich wants to know what's the legality of mixing psychology and the woo-woo world modalities. You have
Well, actually, there's a whole field called energy psychology now, and it is recognized by the American Psychological Association. Psychologists are, um, it's becoming legitimate, right? Because there's more and more science growing on the real effects, tangible effects of doing energy work, especially things like um, tapping, thought field therapy. There's a whole bunch of them, but there's an organization called the Association for Comprehensive Energy Psychology, and they are really on the leading edge of this field. So uh, the field of psychology would not call it woo woo; they would call it evidence based.
I like it.
Yeah.
I'm a woo woo person. I will use the word woo woo a lot. I was once told, and I have never verified this, that WUWU was a Chinese word for wise woman. Uh,
I
who
like it.
knows? That was way back in the 80s. And as we all know, we made up a lot of stuff then, like the made up
Mhm.
phrase "May you live in interesting times." Not actually a Chinese proverb, or not ancient. That comes from Heinlein. Uh, Lazarus Long, I think, said it in one of his books. There's no such thing as free lunch.
Awesome.
So talk to me a little bit. You've got a program coming up, and you're giving it away. It's a free 30-day thing that starts like next
November
Wednesday.
1st. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's coming up soon. I've signed up for it because I love Sue's work, y'all. I get her newsletter, and probably even if I didn't know her in person, I probably would have still subscribed to her newsletter because it's informative without being preachy. So I really enjoy that newsletter. It doesn't come out all the time. She doesn't bombard you. But talk to me a little bit about what is cultivating appreciation and why is it a good thing?
Well, first of all, thank you for saying all that. Um, the 30 days cultivating appreciation. I I chose the word appreciation instead of gratitude on purpose because we all know that things like gratitude and forgiveness are huge. They're healing, they're powerful, right? But they also both can come with a whole lot of baggage. Um, there are lots of emotional things that can get wrapped up in the idea of, oh, I have to forgive so and so who was so awful to me, and that can be a huge block for people. And I think gratitude can kind of be the same way. It's almost like something was broken and somehow I should feel good about it. And so I chose appreciation because it doesn't have as much baggage. It can be as simple as I'm just appreciating the sunshine, looking out my window right now and seeing green grass and, some, the, whatever those flowers are out my window. Um, and here's this. So the science part of that is our thoughts create chemistry, and the chemistry in our brain tells our body how to feel physically. It creates our emotions. And then our health is based on the environment of that chemical soup. So if what we're focusing on is negative, painful, awful, that's the toxic soup that your whole system's in. So I like long stories. So to get back to 30 days of cultivating appreciation, it's simple daily exercises. You don't get up to 30, well, we're going to do 30 exercises, but at the end of the 30 days, you're not expected to do all 30 every day. You spend 10, 15 minutes doing your little practice in the morning, doing the exercise, and then as much as you can, hold it in your mind during the day. And then you revisit it before you go to bed. So we've got the practice, the consistency of doing it for 30 days in a row. We've got the power of the group energy. It really, that is powerful. And I'm going to ask people, I'm doing something different this time. I'm going to ask people if they'll even post a 1-minute video sometimes about what their experience was that day, what the exercise was like, how it felt, what they bumped into. And I think it can, when I've done this before, people in the group have had some pretty dramatic change by incorporating this mindset. Because as we do the daily practices, we also start to incorporate it more and more and more throughout our day, right? So it's like doing toxic waste cleanup. We can get clean water at the end,
Yeah. And water's an important concept for you because when I first met you, that was part of, I'm just checking it in to see that it's, that the wellness of water, and you talk about the soup of our minds.
Yes.
That's part of the reason I say seek joy rather than find joy, gather joy, be joyful. I think you got to keep looking for it.
Yes.
And make it an active verb.
Right.
Because so I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not something you find like a rock on the beach or a shell on the beach. It's actually something you create. You cultivate it like flowers, plants. It needs the conditions in order to thrive.
That, I never even really thought about that, but that's a really smart thing because you need to cultivate. And I love that word. Yes. So cultivate was actually my word of the year for this year.
Oh, cool.
So it's like, I like that word. Now, somebody actually asked, have you ever used or do you use past life regression in your practices? Is that one of your modalities or is that something you're familiar with? I mean, I know you're probably familiar with it, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. I don't purposely do past life work. However, there's been a number of times when I've had somebody on my Reiki table and those things come up. It's been triggered by some intuitive perception I have where we're looking at some physical thing, and as we explore it, it leads back. So yeah, it's fun when that happens.
I'll bet. Sorry. Go ahead.
I'm not trained in doing past life regressions.
I've done a past life regression with somebody who was trained in the Sutphin method, Dick Sutphin. Mm-hmm. And it was really interesting because I knew where I was going to land. I was going to land in Queen Elizabeth I court because I've always been fascinated with that culture and had like extra memory about it. Well, it turns out I was in that time period, but I was not in the court. I was actually a peasant. And apparently back then we still had royal fever. And that was, everybody wanted to know more about the court. So that was like everybody had, you know, thinking about the court. And so that's why I knew so much about the court, was simply from the day-to-day gossip of, they were like the Kardashians of the day. So
that's fascinating.
So talk to me a little bit about, let's say somebody out there is thinking they want to sign up, but they're like, I right, do it. But they've got a week-long Thanksgiving trip planned. Is it going to be bad if they can't do every day? Or, I mean, do you smack hands?
It definitely is not bad. It's, it's a Facebook group. You can always check in when you can check in. People can start late. Everybody has stuff that's life happens, right? So the important thing about a practice and cultivating a practice is making a commitment to yourself. And then sometimes it doesn't happen. So your next opportunity, you just recommit. Commitment isn't a one-time thing, right? It's a practice as well. Anybody who's in a relationship has figured that out, hopefully. And the exercises will be in there for a while after the fact too. So if somebody is gone, can't do it for a week, they pop back in when you get back in town. Pick up where we are, and then after it's over, go back and do the ones you missed if you want. And, people are welcome to download it. The exercises, most of the exercises are based on Rhonda Byrne's book, The Magic. I have tweaked them and I'm adding some because I think she has 28 days or something like that, but I'm doing 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to tell you about the first exercise, because
I was just going to ask you that. So cool.
There's a great TED Talk, and doggone it, I can't, great TED Talk about body language. It's a woman psychologist who did some research on power and body language. And so a power pose is like Wonder Woman. And doing a power pose like Wonder Woman, or, the victory pose for 2 minutes a day actually changes the chemistry in your brain. It actually starts to have an effect on how one sees themselves. Yes.
I like that.
So in a nutshell, what they did was they had people lined up for job interviews, and some of the people, before they went in the interview, they had them do a power pose for 2 minutes. Some kind of, sitting back with their elbows back and their feet up on the desk, or.
Oh, that's a CEO pose. It's got to be.
Yes, right. And consistently, they found that the people who did that before their interview, by blind raters, were rated way higher than the people who did not do it. So they presented.
Very interesting.
Yes, right. It creates a shift in the energy and the feeling the person has about themselves. And the woman's she was studying people in business school, and especially how to help those who were quiet or lacked confidence. And her thing was, fake it until you become it, which I thought was really cool.
Somebody said Amy Cuddy.
That sounds about right. Yes.
Okay. I think somebody went out and,
yes.
hunted for us.
C-U-D-E-Y. Yeah. Yep.
So let me see what else. Now, I am fascinated by all that you've done. I know that and we're going to talk about something personal now.
Okay.
Tell me about your last kayak trip. I mean, where'd you go? What'd you see? Sue Kayaks, and it's my dream to own a kayak and go kayaking. But here in New Mexico,
Mm.
It's a little dusty for that.
It doesn't glide so well in white sands, right?
Man, you've got to go there. So you've got to come, and we've got to take you. Utterly one of the most peaceful, and even he said it's just so calming to
Oh,
just sit
cool.
out there. It was
Yeah.
really an interesting. It's gypsum, and I don't know the qualities of gypsum, so I've got to go look that up on a metaphysical sense. Because you get
Yeah.
out there and you're just like, I'm good.
Oh, awesome. Let's see. The last time I went out was, well, of course, I kayak in the Puget Sound because I live on the Puget Sound. And right here in Bremerton, actually, from what I understand, Bremerton has more coastline, more waterfront than any place else ever because there's so many inlets and, curvy coastline. Anyway, I went out with a friend and her dog who rides in her kayak, and we just kind of paddled around the inlet. Bremerton's a Navy town, and there's a big shipyard here, so we were we went to the other end where there weren't ships. But we saw seals and eagles, and the ferry went by, and it was, oh gosh, this was a little while ago. The weather was just starting to get a little cooler, and some fall leaves starting, and oh, it was spectacular.
It
Yeah.
sounds gorgeous. It really does. I really one of the things I'd like to do is come up there where I can go. I've been kayaking once in my life, and I turned it from kayaking in the ocean into swimming with the whales.
Oh, yeah.
A humpback came up truly close to us, like from where you are to across the street, that close. And I wanted to point it out to my girlfriend Kay, who's my best friend, and all I heard was Arwen, Arwen, and sploosh.
That's awesome.
We were suddenly swimming with the whales. Yay!
Oh my God, that's awesome.
It's this poor little guy. We had it was his first time taking a trip out with a group, and he's got two. We were probably 50 at that point, or just around 50, and both of us are not slim children. And he's telling me, because he's trying to get me in, he's like, use your upper arm strength, use your upper arm strength. And I said, baby, I am 50 and fat. I don't have upper arm strength. And at this point, he says, well, can I pull you up by your board shorts? Well, I wore yoga pants. I'm not thinking. And right as he says this, I'm slinging my pants into the boat because they were falling off because they were so wet. I had a bathing suit on, and his little eyes got like. And I said, look, I said, steady the canoe and I'll steady the kayak. I'm a canoer, and I'll roll myself in. Yeah. And the other guide had come over at this point, and she was trying not to laugh because I was, when I get in a panicky situation, I wasn't even panicky. I love to swim, but I was just smart mouthing it all the way. I finally roll in, and Kay, who's holding both the paddles, going, look, Kay, the whale again. She said, get in the boat, Arwen. So have you ever gone in the water unintentionally or intentionally out of a kayak?
I have not. I hope I'm not jinxing myself, but no, I have not. My butt always gets wet, but I have not fallen out.
Now, how long have you been kayaking?
Oh, gee. I think I got my kayak about 3 years ago. So I got a great deal on Craigslist for a purple kayak.
No.
I love that kayak, yeah. And it's light enough that I can get it on the car and off the car by myself. That was part of the key.
Yeah. Now, what do you think? I know that's kind of one of your, I think, self-care things. Mm-hmm. What else do you think about? I mean, is self-care important? I know that's a silly question, but.
Silly Arwen? Yes.
So what do you think are good things?
Well, um, I work with a lot of highly sensitive people, which is probably not a surprise. And I think I've everybody needs self-care, but highly sensitive people, in my opinion, need to be Olympic athletes in terms of self-care. Everything, food matters, um, other things we consume matter, sleep, movement, whatever fits with your body type. I've been interested in the blood type stuff, interesting, which is fascinating because he actually ties it to science, how our bodies respond to food, but it also affects the kind of movement that's good for us.
Oh,
Somebody like, I'm a blood type A, and my blood type does best with quiet exercise like yoga, Tai Chi, that kind of thing. Somebody who's blood type O needs vigorous daily exercise like running or biking or swimming. And if they don't, they get stressed out and grouchy.
huh.
I know, it's fascinating. And
We'll have to do a whole thing on that because I could just so get into that. That's very cool.
Yeah, and yeah. So what was I? Oh, self-care. Sorry. So sometimes when I'm wandering through the forest, I'm on a path, but then I get really excited about one tree, and then the tree that's next to it, and the tree that's next to it, and then I forget what flippin' path I was on. So, self-care. It's critical. It's critical. It's critical. And I think one of my challenges for this year was to help myself be consistent about daily practices. So my current routine has been I get up and do yoga first, even though that's hard for me to get up and do anything other than hold a cat on my lap. I've been doing just a little bit of gentle yoga, then I meditate, then I get ready, then I do things. Well, and while I'm getting ready, I love to listen to Abraham Hicks because it's so affirming. It reminds me about my responsibility to my own energy, my own emotions, practicing the appreciation, etc. And then, well, I'm out of it right now, but then is writing time. All of those things, I can see them as self-care, but also in my business, all of that is part of my work.
Yeah.
It is part of my work. So you don't need a 5-hour daily routine like I get into sometimes, but you do need to figure out what's critical for you in your self-care. Got to have quiet time. You got to get off your freaking phone, get off Facebook. I never watch the news 1% of the time. That's because it's always the same. It doesn't change. It's toxic, blah, blah, blah. So I can't stress doing self-care enough and getting creative about things that work for you. I teach people lots of energy exercises they can do. I talk to lots of clients about doing short daily tapping just to help them get in a positive state of mind for their day. And so.
Mm-hmm. Is it possible, I know this is kind of off the topic, but is it possible to wake up and be, can tapping replace coffee? I mean, is that a fair question? I don't.
Theoretically.
Some of it, but
you froze a little.
But not really, obviously.
So, yes, tapping can replace coffee. I think the hardest part in that is making the decision and then doing it. I don't know. You froze on my screen. So I'm going to keep talking and see if you.
Yeah, we're having something's going on because your connection's down a little bit because sometimes you just freeze up, but it looks like you're better now.
Ow, bummer. Where was I? Yes, you can replace coffee with tapping.
But would you want to? That's the best question because I really enjoy my coffee.
You know, I think that's got to be an individual decision. There are, like, my blood type does okay with coffee. Other blood types, it's bad. So you got to look at that too.
We're going to come back to this blood type thing because I couldn't tell you what my blood type is. I really don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to find that out. But, well, let's do this because I have kept you for a while and I know you have a busy day. If she is in the Bremerton area and wants to get a Reiki session or wants to do therapy work with you, how could they find you? I put your Facebook professional profile link on this video so people can go find the you and how to sign up for the class. But how can they get in touch with you?
Okay, well, my website is susanfranklinpsyd.com. You can message me through there. You can see what the services are. I actually can do Reiki distance. I can't do therapy with people who are out of this state. I can do coaching or consulting or I'm trying to come up with a phrase for how I do Reiki because I integrate the psychology, the intuitive work, and the energetic work. You know, it's kind of a package. I come all together. So probably my website is the best way. www.susanfranklinpsyd.com. My phone number's there. You can send me a message through the website and
Okay.
And sign
And
up.
I'll put that. And sign up for the newsletter, guys. It's really fabulous. I cannot stress enough what a wonderful newsletter it is. And it's not bombarding you. It's not like that Arwen girl who sends it out I'll put the link down in the drop down so y'all can get there easily. And because I'm real about Sue's class, I'm going to offer a contest for y'all. And here's the deal. I will give away a 15-minute video session for a tarot reading, or if you want to pick my brain about writing or whatever you want, based on the following. You share this video on public social. It's not locked down to friends, so I can't see it. And you either leave the link in the comment or email me the link. And I'll choose somebody on October 30th. I want to get a lot of people in on this. I think it's super fun, and the word spread sweaty balls. The more we people are going to, I know, I love that ice cream, but we'll get more people and we'll have more fun. Let's kind of have people take over shoes. No, show up and let's cultivate appreciation for the month as a group. So if you're in, you got to leave me a comment with your link that I can go see that you've shared this video about Sue. Email it at readings@tarotbyarwen.com. Sue, thank you so much for showing up. Get your butt to New Mexico, woman. We want to show you places like the tarantulas. I know you're all about that.
Oh, I would like to see those. Thank you, Arwen. You're such a brilliant light. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Seek joy, y'all.